Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob, and welcome to Deep Down to Fix the Lighting. Just in 1 second. Here we go. I'm leaving that in, so it don't matter. But welcome to Deep Dive, and you say, wait a minute, Jacob, you've just done this. Yeah. The video recorded. Okay. The video recorded. We've been having some technological issues. The video recorded, but no audio recorded. So we're going to do this again. So we have the AFC North, probably the most, how do I describe it in this way? Insane division. It's a fight. It's a brawl for all, in a way. These teams hate each other. History. It makes no sense. I can go back through history. The Ravens, anytime the Ravens and Steelers fought each other, it was always for this division. It was something. That wasn't even that long ago. That was probably about less than a decade and a half ago. That was it. They just always do it. It always happens. There's a fight. And that's what AFC North football is all about. It's a fight. It's a brawl. It's not a pass-happy division. We're going to grind it out. We're going to fight. We're going to do everything possible to win. And we're going to beat you down every chance we can. That's why it's kind of the most, in a way, the most interesting division in all of football. Let's begin with the Baltimore Ravens, who won the division. They brought in Derrick Henry. Lamar Jackson was the MVP, his second MVP. The offense was losing a couple pieces, but the Ravens don't make a lot of movement in free agency, but they capitalize in the draft. They dominated the draft. They brought in Derrick Henry. Their defense, new defensive coordinator, that was going to be a little interesting. And to start the year, their defense struggled. They were bad against the pass. Great against the run, bad against the pass. Somewhere in there, they said, let's move Marlon Humphrey from the outside to the inside because he's more comfortable there. And it turned like a switch. They moved, remember Marcus Williams, he was the starting safety. They moved him out. They put Washington in at safety. They moved Kyle Hamilton from a box safety to now he's a free safety. He's down the middle of the field. They started doing these things, and then it all clicked for them. They got pressure. They attacked the ball. They got turnovers. They did everything right. They even beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, which the Ravens hadn't done in quite some time. Like, they always struggle against the Steelers. If they win, it's a miracle half the time. They did it twice. They lost the first time, they won the second time, and they won in the playoff in the wild card round. That's the important part. They won in the playoffs. They got to the playoffs. They won everything. So what happened to Baltimore? Why did they lose in the second round to the Buffalo Bills? As the season progressed, you could see the same flashes that were amazing. You also saw they depended solely on what Lamar Jackson brought to the table. And that's unfortunate because you have Derrick Henry. you can run the football. And that's where this goes. We go into the game against Baltimore after they just ran over the Steelers in the wild card. Over them. The Steelers could not stop them at all. And we'll get to the Steelers in a minute. But they get to the game against Buffalo. It's cold. Bills won the number 1 seed. That's expected. It's cold. And they're running. And they're running. And they're running. But they didn't get the number 1 seed, but you get my point. They got the number 1 seed for the second place, in a way. But what happened was how bad it got in that game. This was a team that didn't turn the ball over. Lamar Jackson was the MVP. Hold on a second. I'll be back. There we go. We're back. Lamar Jackson was the MVP. They didn't turn the ball over. They were dominating. They pushed. They shoved. They did everything great offensively and great defensively. The special teams was a mystery, but they were good either way. And what ended up happening was they played Buffalo. And Buffalo was making those mistakes. You saw Buffalo trying to just, it was like an ice rink. When that ground gets cold, it hurts. But Lamar, 2 picks. A pick. Yeah, 2 picks, 2 fumbles. He didn't look comfortable. The team didn't look comfortable. They didn't run the ball with Derrick Henry enough. In the third quarter, when they had a really nice drive and they scored a touchdown, that was Derrick Henry. They ran the ball with Derrick Henry. They had success. They just didn't do it enough. That goes on Lamar Jackson. That goes on the offensive coordinator. And the reason it goes on Lamar Jackson is because he's been in the league long enough. He can overrule the offensive coordinator and say, "Nah, man, we gotta run the football. We have to run the football. Give the ball to Derrick Henry and get out of his way." He can overrule him. And people are going to say, "But that's not how he roll." You have to. Sometimes. You have to go and say, "No, man, we got to run the football. Our first instinct has to be to run the football. That's our first instinct. Plain and simple." They didn't. Then I've said it here. I've said it countless times. They went for it on 2 2-point conversions. Didn't get either. They needed him, but they didn't get him. They didn't get him. The first one was a batted pass. The second one was a drop pass. I'm not against the decision to go for 2-point conversions. I'm not against it, especially in that situation. I was against that they went for 2-point conversions and they didn't hand the ball to Derrick Henry or they didn't let Lamar Jackson run the football. That's what I was against. The second one was a great play call. He's wide open. He's going to fall right into the end zone. But he dropped it. Mark Andrews dropped it. But you can easily hand the ball to Derrick Henry, and I'm not convinced he can't make 2 yards on 2 attempts. In that two chances in that situation. I'm not against that. He can plunge right in there. So that was my biggest issue with the Ravens. With all the people you have, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, all these guys, a great defense, all these guys, and yet you still chose to not do this. I didn't understand why. Couldn't understand why. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Now let's jump to the Steelers. Watching the Steelers is frustrating. It's been frustrating for some time. Because watching the Steelers is like watching your family friend go and meet with and have girlfriends and they're not good people, and he gets hurt over and over again for no reason because the person cheats on them. They get hurt over and over again because the person keeps getting cheated on. And you're just like, why do you keep going with these slime balls for no reason? The part of my friend, slime balls for a reason. Like, you deserve better than that. That's what I'm talking about. It's the most frustrating to watch the Steelers play. For 5 years, they haven't had an offense. They rely on their defense. Now, granted, they've made the playoffs. Coach Tomlin has not had a losing season. But that's not the issue. Their offense is a disaster. They are bad. They're really bad. And it's got a lot worse as the year progressed. They couldn't run the ball efficiently. They struggled throwing the football. They looked good in the beginning part of the year. Not that they were scoring a lot of points, but they played keep away. They had Justin Fields playing quarterback. They were playing keep away. Then they went to Russell Wilson, and they were still playing keep away, which is fine. But they weren't winning games the way teams are winning games in 2025 or 2024 at that time. They just weren't winning games. And they couldn't figure out why. And then you get to the game against Baltimore, the second one. Like, Russell Wilson just started making mistakes. Things that he's been in the NFL a long time. He knows he has to protect the football. Why is he not sliding? How does he not know in the game against Cincinnati at the end of the year? How does he not know I have to run out of bounds to stop the clock? I shouldn't have to worry about how much time is on the clock. If I step out of bounds, I know, okay, I stepped out. We have time. We can reset. We can get a new play in. We don't have to rush. But I didn't. Why? I don't get it. You've been in the NFL for over 10 years. You should know this by now. Like, you've seen this happen. You made the playoffs, and you couldn't do a thing. You couldn't do a thing in the game against Baltimore. Your run defense, your pass defense were atrocious all night long. You couldn't stop Derrick Henry. Your defense was a wet hanky the entire game, and your offense could only throw deep bombs. That's all it could do. Couldn't run the ball. Couldn't really throw except for those deep passes. Those are things that need to be fixed. Hang on. Okay, we're back. We're having issues, I'm telling you. But those are the things that need to be fixed. They can't just rely on the deep ball. They can't just rely on the defense. They can't just rely on the ground game because it might not be there. And then what are they going to do? And now you're looking at free agency in 2025. Russ is gone. Probably not going to come back. Justin Fields is a Jet. You don't have many options in a very weak quarterback class because your team, same goes for a lot of teams. You won too much to be the first seed, but you lost too much to be in the playoffs or get far in the playoffs. You're kind of in that middle 18 to 25 range, and that's not exactly a good thing. Now let's talk about Cincinnati Bengals. And I say this. I just saw a tweet a couple hours ago. No, actually maybe 15 minutes ago or so. Said, Schefter tweets out that the Bengals are close to getting a deal with both receivers. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, of course. Those two, along with Joe Burrow, are the only reason Zach Taylor has a job. They were awful in September. Awful. And they've been awful ever since in September. They are terrible. They're the worst team in September, if I remember correctly. In that time frame that Zach Taylor's been there. Their defense, outside of Hendrickson, they had nothing. They've actually made some moves in free agency to build up that defense, but they have had nothing. They have been awful. Besides Hendrickson, they couldn't do anything. Just worse and worse and worse, and it never got better than that. Worse is actually a very easy way to lay it down for you, because I could say a lot of things, but I would be canceled off YouTube as fast as humanly possible. Hang on a second. We'll keep losing camera. Camera. This is what has happened with the Bengals. They're so bad that Joe Burrow, Chase Brown, who no one knows who Chase Brown is exactly, but Chase Brown, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase are the only reason, and Mike Gesicki are the only five reasons I should say, I should count better, the only 5 reasons why this team was even where it was. That's how bad it got. Their offensive line was a mess. Their defense was a complete disaster. It was bad. The only reason Zach Taylor has a job is because of those 5 people. Because of Burrow, because of Chase, because of Higgins, because of Brown, because of Gesicki. Those 4 or 5 people are the only reasons why they are the only reasons why Zach Taylor and his crew have a job. They ended up at the end of the season. They didn't make the playoffs because they lost too many in the beginning, but they were that close. They needed a couple things to go their way, and it was going their way until the game between the Chiefs and Broncos, which if you saw the AFC West, you know exactly how that went. These are things that are important, plain and simple. What I'm trying to do. If you lay it down perfectly, you can understand that there's a little bit of rumble in that sheet. You see it every single day. Now, let's talk about the Browns. Probably the worst team. It might be the worst team in the NFL. It's that bad. It's really bad. It's not good. Watching this team perform is like watching someone. If you've ever seen one of those long, drawn-out movies, a person, and all the guys will understand what I'm talking about here. You watch a movie. The movie is long. And at some point, or not even necessarily a movie, but a conversation, the conversation doesn't end. They don't move to another topic. And you start moving your head like you're a newborn baby because you're like, you're all over the place because you're exhausted of this conversation. You don't care. That's what's going on with the Browns. No one cares. Not even the Browns care. They were bad. Offensively, they were bad. The exciting part was Jameis Winston was the quarterback at one point. Deshaun Watson tears his Achilles not once but twice in 3 months. DTR, who now got traded to the Eagles, they trade for Kenny Pickett, which isn't going to help their future at all. They're still going to need to draft a quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do. But they are also talking to Russell Wilson, so there's all kinds of things going on. Defense was a disaster. They ended up almost losing Myles Garrett. They ended up paying him big-time money to make him the highest paid defensive end ever. because I had no choice. It's bad. They are bad. They're trying. They gotta rebuild this thing, but it's not good. We said here on this show, Kevin Stefanski could be fired. Still up there. Still up there. Could still happen. Maybe not at the end, maybe not this year. But if it doesn't fix, is he going to be here for the complete remodel? Who knows? But that is the scariest and insane parts of the AFC North. It's a brawl for all. It's a fight to the finish. And you just hope you swim and don't sink. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.